Right now here on BBC One Scotland though, Victoria Derbyshire takes a deeper look into hospital treatment as Panorama investigates NHS. Wait or pay.
I can't live with this pain. I can't carry on like this. I just cannot carry on. My life just isn't worth living, quite frankly.
Across the UK, millions of people are waiting for hospital treatment as health services struggle to clear the growing backlog caused by the pandemic.
All the time, one after the other, the phone doesn't stop, particularly in the morning. Reception, Paul speaking, how can I help you?
The delays are having a profound impact on people.
It's basically ruining my life at the moment.
The government has committed billions to beating the backlog, but is it enough?
We can expect the waiting list to continue to grow, and the people who are waiting, unfortunately, are being asked to wait longer.
We meet some of the patients turning their backs on the NHS to go private.
£7,000 is not a light amount of money.
We as a family, we wouldn't have that type of money. I feel like I'm begging for money, but I don't have no choice.
I need the nurse to confirm that. So let me get you called back.
It's early morning in this North London GP's surgery, the busiest time of the day here, when patients call in trying to get an appointment.
Next Thursday. And would you like him to phone on your mobile or landline?
For most, the GP is the first person they turn to when they get sick.
So when's you due for this? It's not for a couple of months.
This scene is being played out across the UK as surgeries struggle to cope with unprecedented levels of pressure.
There we go. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
This is non-stop. Answering the phone and then someone comes in face to face.
At the height of the pandemic, many held back from going to their GP. Now they're seeking treatment, but face-to-face appointments are still limited. Here, depending on clinical need, a quarter of patients get to see a doctor. The rest receive a consultation via phone or video call.
Okay, so nobody is available at the moment, so you can call back later?
There's only so much we can do, and we work hard to achieve what we can, and we get a lot of abuse regularly. We do have staff, very upset, in tears quite often. It's not an unknown thing. So yeah, it's hard.
Outside the surgery, it's even busier.
So what have we got going on here then?
So this is our annual outdoor flu clinic for the over 65s.
There you go. There you go. Done.
Dr. Leora Harvard is struggling to keep up with increasing demands.
How is your workload at the moment and how has it been?
It is overwhelming, completely and utterly overwhelming. There's probably not been a day whereby you can properly switch off, definitely since COVID. I feel at the moment we are so overwhelmed that I cannot deliver medicine and the care to the level that I would like to.
And it's not just the demand on her time that's putting pressure on Dr. Harvard. It's also the worries from her patients who are struggling to get to see a hospital consultant.
Hello, it's Leora Harvard here, the GP. Is that the carer? Okay.
One patient who says she can't wait any longer has written to Dr. Harvard.
So this lady is worried about waiting to be seen on the NHS and might be going privately, so I just want to phone her just to see if there's anything I can do to help. It's not that unusual that they go privately, but it's not how it should be. Oh, hello, it's Leora Harvard phoning from the surgery.
This time, Dr. Harvard thinks she can help.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to go privately for this. I'm sure I can help with this one. Okay, thank you. Bye. Bye.
That's fine. Okay. Who's your normal doctor?
The workload here is just kind of absurd. I mean, it's overwhelming. If From the other end, though, if you're a patient and you get to see a GP like Dr. Harvard and you then get referred, chances are you will join a very long waiting list. There are over 5.6 million people queuing for treatment in England right now.
That's 1.3 million more than at the start of the pandemic. This month, the government announced they'll be investing £36 billion on NHS and social care for all 4 home nations up to 2025. £10 billion of that has been committed to address the backlog in England.
We need to pay for those missed operations and treatments. And we need to go beyond the record funding we've already provided to the NHS. I have to level with people. Waiting lists will get worse before they get better.
What does that mean?
So I think it means 2 things. Number one, we can expect the waiting list to continue to grow as more people come forward to GP services requesting treatment. And the second thing is, once you're on the waiting list, how long do you wait?
The problem is the scale of the backlog. The government is spending more, but more is not the same as enough. And if we want the waiting list to come down by the next election, we would need to spend at least 13 billion. If we wanted to meet the target to treat people within 18 weeks, we'd need to be spending 17 billion, and the government has committed 10.
But for the millions currently on the waiting lists, they need help now. These are just a few of the stories I've come across.
This is from a woman who says she was in so much pain she was passing out regularly. She's waited over a year. Somebody here is waiting for open heart surgery.
There are around 260,000 people waiting for heart treatment in England. Nearly 1 in 4 have waited more than 18 weeks, the national target.
Someone else is waiting for a knee replacement operation. They say, we're the forgotten ones, it seems. And I'm looking at £20,000 per knee. This isn't money I have sitting in my bank account, says this patient, I can assure you.
They are one of over 680,000 people on the trauma and orthopaedic waiting list. It's the longest in England.
I don't know how you cope with that. I don't know how you get on with your life while you're waiting for something as significant as that to help you live normally.
For a growing number of people, waiting for 6, 12, even 24 months is just too much to cope with, both physically and mentally. So they're looking for other ways to get treatment.
Hi everyone. Whew, nervous. So this is...
Sophia Jones is in a private hospital near Edinburgh, about to have surgery to treat endometriosis, a condition that can lead to debilitating pelvic pain.
That's the surgery done. It was a success. I had a little bit of a freak out when I woke up. I couldn't breathe. Just had a bit of a difficult time, but I'm all settled now. I'm back in my room.
Right then, let's get you out.
Once home, Sophia's recovery continues. But at the front of her mind is the £7,000 she and her partner Andrew have borrowed to pay for the treatment.
It was a really tough decision to go private because we were having to put ourselves essentially into financial debt to get the surgery. We had to take out a loan to get it. And I mean, it's a lot of money. £7,000 is not a light amount of money to be taken out for medical, but you have to have some kind of quality of life.
Before her operation, Sophia struggled with chronic pain. So being told she'd have to wait 2 years for surgery on the NHS was devastating.
Some days were so bad that my partner would have to take me to the bathroom and back, help me shower, I'd be in bed all day. That is not a life. I'm only 36 years old.
Like Sophia, during the pandemic, 1 in 5 people have paid for private treatment.
I'm quite proud that we have a country with an NHS, but They've completely let me down, and to be honest, I feel really bitter about it. My endometriosis is not taken serious by them, and as a result, I feel completely abandoned by them.
NHS Scotland says the Women's Health Plan sets out a number of actions to improve access to appropriate support, speedy diagnosis, and the best treatment for endometriosis, and that their NHS recovery plan sets out commitments over the next 5 years, backed by more than £1 billion worth of funding to address backlogs.
The NHS is there both to provide care, but also to protect people from the crippling cost if you have to go it alone. The big worry about these long waits leading people to have to go private is one, that it will increase inequalities, but that also many people will be forced to make awful trade-offs over their finances in order to be able to get access to the care that they need when they need it. And that goes against every grain of why we set up the health service.
61-year-old Brenda Pugh lives in constant agony. She was diagnosed with arthritis 5 years ago. Early in the pandemic, Brenda was told she needed a double hip replacement. That was 14 months ago, and she's still waiting.
I can't live with this pain. When you try and move, it's like walking on jagged glass, and it takes your breath away. I need to get my life back, but I just don't know when or if that will ever happen.
Before the first lockdown, around 400 people had been waiting more than 12 months for orthopaedic surgery in England. Now there are 62,000, including Brenda.
One of my daughter's friends has just come back from Latvia. He went over there to have his done. Why are people having to go to Latvia to get their hips done? I'm getting that desperate that that's something I may consider. Come on, girls.
Over half of people with arthritis waiting for an operation during the pandemic report being in pain every day. And many are spending vast amounts trying to relieve that pain. On average, £1,700 a year while waiting for surgery. Almost £700 goes on physiotherapy. Going private isn't cheap. An initial appointment with a private consultant can cost around £200. The average cost of a chest X-ray, £100. An ultrasound of the abdomen, around £360. And a total hip replacement like Brenda's could be around £11,000 for each hip. For replacing a heart valve, you're looking at more than £20,000. 1 in 10 people in the UK have private health insurance to cover some of those charges. For those who don't, the options are limited. The independent think tank The King's Fund researched the impact of COVID on some of the poorest people in the country.
Is there a concern that we are seeing the beginnings of a serious two-tier health system?
I think that's one of the risks that the government and national bodies in the NHS are absolutely going to have to manage, because we have a choice as a society where we go after this pandemic. It can either be the pandemic that exposed health inequalities and made us make hard decisions over who we prioritise for treatment, or we can ignore it and keep doing almost what we were doing before and focus on things like the headline number of how many people are being treated without really realising if that's leading to widening health inequalities or not.
According to their research, shared with Panorama, since the pandemic began, people waiting for treatment in the most deprived parts of England are nearly twice as likely to wait more than a year for care.
Those parts of the country that are the most deprived are the areas that are seeing waiting lists grow the most, and also people who are waiting on those lists are a higher proportion are waiting for longer periods of time. And in a way, That probably isn't a surprise, but it should be. It should be one of those wake-up calls that, depending on what part of the country you live, it really does affect how long you're waiting for care.
For those who feel they can't wait any longer, using savings is the most common way of financing their treatment. Others might be able to rely on their pension, friends or family. But for people who don't have those options, many are turning to crowdfunding.
There are so many crowdfunding campaigns online for people who are talking about waiting lists, trying to raise money for private surgery. I mean, I've just printed out some here. Help raise money for June's hip operation, target of £12,000. Lucy's endometriosis surgery, 600 quid raised of an 8,500k goal. Help Anthony get a new hip. I mean, it just goes on and on.
One site, GoFundMe, has told us that since last year, they've seen a big increase in the number of campaigns that mention NHS waiting lists.
Ian, do you want me to cut these up for you, eh?
The Kildare family from Strabane in Northern Ireland felt crowdfunding was their only option.
I will check now. I don't know what there was.
Last year, 12-year-old Hayden was diagnosed with severe scoliosis, a condition where the spine twists and curves to the side.
So one shoulder higher and then one shoulder more prominent. There'd be a gap, like a funny gap here. Like, I'll actually show you the picture. So you can actually see his curve there, and you can see his shoulder blade sitting out more. And it's actually got worse than it was before.
Shauna says she was told that Hayden, who also has autism, would have to wait more than 2 years to get the operation.
This is how it progresses. The more it curves, the more it, you know, interferes with his organs and stuff like that, you know. So that's actually really scary.
Desperate to get Hayden the help he needs, Shauna found a clinic in Turkey able to do the surgery immediately, but it would cost £50,000, money the family didn't have. So in the summer, they started campaigning to raise the cash.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's really, really frustrating that we're in our own country and we can't get Hayden the surgery that he needs. Like, I have to travel over the world with Hayden during COVID and whatnot, so there's a lot of anxiety and worry about doing that. So we're going to the local fishing shop. So they've offered a donation to Hayden's appeal. So we're just going to pick that up. We have a few of them to do today, so that's what we're going to do now. Me and Hayden's fighting over the umbrella. Right, let me put this down. Thank you so much for
To add to the money being raised online, local businesses are chipping in.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
I hope everything works out.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
That's grand.
Northern Ireland's Health and Social Care Board says that before the pandemic, the number of people waiting longer than the target waiting times was already increasing. It says it's just set out a 5-year plan to tackle the backlog, and additional funding has been confirmed to help reduce waiting lists for a range of time-critical surgical treatments, including scoliosis. It's now a month since Sophia's surgery, and she's recovering well.
So it's nice to get the life back.
Nice to be able to go out for a walk.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't do that before, could I?
Not really.
But that £7,000 loan is weighing heavily on their minds. Sophia's a student, and Andrew has just started a tour guide service, so money's really tight.
It's going to be difficult, especially the next couple of years. Having to take out a £7,000 loan to pay for surgery, I could have done without that. But it needed to be done, otherwise I don't honestly know if Sophia would have survived, because, you know, you can't live in that constant pain forever. You give up hope eventually.
It's just not fair at all. And
I mean, we took the decision to take that loan so that I could have a better quality of life, but not everyone's in that position.
Brenda's not been able to work for nearly 2 years because of her arthritis. Almost half of the patients who face lengthy delays for treatment are in a similar position.
The ballpark figure for hips, and I need both done, is it's about £10,000 per hip. I don't have the financial means. There's some days I just think I can't see myself ever working again or being financially independent and self-sufficient again. If there was a plan, I probably would say, yay, in 6 months' time, I can have an operation, I can recover, I can walk again, and I can work again. Therefore, I'm going to take out a loan because I'll be able to pay that back then. I can't make those plans.
1 in 5 people with arthritis whose surgery has been delayed by COVID often go without food or heating in order to fund treatment to manage the pain. Brenda says the last thing she heard is that she'll be lucky if the surgery happens this side of Christmas.
I do have better days and I have bad days, and everybody with this condition will understand that the bad days are bad. And it was a bad day. I'm getting emotional now. It was a very bad day, and I just thought, I can't carry on like this. I just cannot carry on. My life just isn't worth living, quite frankly.
Brenda decided to write to her surgeon.
So this is the email that I sent. I desperately need your help. I would like to make another appeal. In fact, I would beg you to please change my miserable life for me. It is no life at all at the moment. I've lost everything. There is no joy in anything. Unable to walk, a prisoner in my own home, and relying on others to get through from one day to the next. Please help me.
She got a response, but not the one she was hoping for.
The letter reads, we're working desperately hard and in very trying circumstances to address a massive backlog of cases. I'm trying my level best to deliver a service for you, and I'm sorry for the delays, but regrettably, I can only operate on one person at a time. That letter, it's a nice letter, but it doesn't help me in any way, shape or form. It just says, you know, it doesn't even tell me a time scale again, but it's the waiting and it's the lack of any signposting, which is really, really difficult to accept.
NHS England says caring for more than 450,000 seriously ill COVID patients has inevitably had a knock-on effect on non-urgent care. It says NHS staff have stepped up and made effective use of additional resources, helping carry out millions more tests, checks, treatments and operations this summer compared to last. With waiting lists set to get worse before they get better, hospital A&E departments are feeling the pressure.
I got here at 11:30 last night. I spent the whole night sitting in the corridor because it was so busy. I was crying because I was in so much pain.
This is Kirsty. She's also got endometriosis. It's her 6th visit to A&E this year.
When I saw the first gynae doctor at whatever time this morning, we both agreed I don't want emergency surgery if we can avoid it.
Kirsty's been told she could have up to a 12-month wait for surgery to relieve her pain. After spending almost 24 hours here, she's sent home.
They'll reassess clinical urgency depending on how many times you go to A&E. Obviously, someone that's going more often, they're more urgent. So yeah, I'm just waiting. I don't know what my quality of life looks like in the future. I can't plan a future. I have no, control over anything, essentially.
So how are you doing? How have you been doing?
Not too bad. I'm in a bit of pain today, I think, but...
2 months later, things have got worse.
A little bit.
Okay, so when you say a little bit of pain, what does that mean?
It's more my right leg, so the impact of my right foot hitting the floor is just so painful in the lower right abdomen. So if I use the crutches, it kind of takes the impact off.
The waiting is having a serious effect on Kirsty's mental health.
There's been times where I've gone to bed not knowing if I'm going to wake up the next day because the pain is that severe, it feels like I'm not going to make it.
Seriously? It's felt like you are dying?
Yeah, literally. And
It's okay.
yeah, it's basically ruining my life at the moment.
Nearly 100,000 patients in England waited more than the government target of 4 hours in A&E last month. A rise of almost 40,000 compared to before the pandemic.
What's the link between patients going to A&E and the length of the waiting list?
So both affect each other. So the more people that we've got coming forward to A&E and needing to be admitted to hospital and have operations, then we see that the capacity in the NHS to do the planned care is reduced. But the longer people are on the waiting list, having problems getting diagnoses, they're also then appearing in the A&E system. So it can become a vicious cycle.
You know we're going to Turkey now on Wednesday, Hayden. So I'm just getting a few of your stuff ready, you know, your pyjamas and stuff so I got down.
After raising £50,000, Shauna's preparing to take her son Hayden to Turkey for the operation to straighten his spine.
How do you feel about going away?
I'm good.
Feel good? You a wee bit nervous?
No,
Mummy's a wee bit nervous.
I'm not.
We as a family, we wouldn't have that type of money, and to be put in a position where you're basically begging of people, begging for them to help you get your child surgery that they should be able to get here, you know. We shouldn't have to ask people for money to do that. So it is infuriating. What do you think's going to happen during surgery? Do you know?
Nope.
May put like a mask on your face. You'll go for a wee sleep, and when you wake up it'll be all done, won't it?
Mm-hmm.
So when is it going to get better?
So the most optimistic assessment I've seen is 2 years. And even that is very, very broadly defining better as the NHS getting back to the performance levels it was delivering before the pandemic. My best guess is you're looking at longer than that. You're looking at somewhere in the region of, I would say, as broad as it is, 5 to 10 years. We're heading into a winter where the waiting list's been in the worst condition I can remember in the last 10 to 15 years. And you've got a tired, and more than tired, a knackered workforce, uncertain pressures. And so I think what it means is more people waiting, and the people who are waiting, unfortunately, being asked to wait longer.
Hayden's had his operation.
Excellent, Hayden. Look at you up on your feet. Good boy.
He's now looking forward to going home. But for millions of others, the delays go on. Kirsty's going to counselling to cope with her anxiety while she waits. She still has no idea when her surgery will be. Sophia has started repaying her bank loan. She's making a full recovery. Brenda has joined a second waiting list, this time for physiotherapy. As for her hip replacement, all she can do is wait.
And just a reminder that Debate Night will be back on the BBC Scotland channel this Wednesday at 10 o'clock.
Do you want to see it?
Wow. Oh, I hardly dare let go.
The Workshop of Dreams is back open for business. Brand new The Repair Shop, Wednesday at 8 on BBC One and iPlayer.
100,000 runners, 100,000 reasons to
push yourself, to make a difference, to win. Whatever the goal, this year, more than ever, we run together. The London Marathon coverage starts Sunday at 8 a.m. on BBC Two and iPlayer.
This is DCI Amy Silva.
Earlier today, a crewman died on board Vigil.
We have to send a detective out to look into it.
Me?
Yes, it's perfectly safe.
How are you with confined spaces?
Vigil.